live. Justin Brennan is here. What's up, my friend? Great
How's it
to have
going?
you.
Good morning.
Terrific to have you here to talk about $1 listings.
Yes.
It's been a big topic, just in case anyone hasn't seen your comments on my Facebook posts. And then also auction platform,
Yeah.
which you guys are famous for, and in real estate. And then we'll do some predictions.
Okay.
Maybe some tips and tricks.
2019?
Yeah, because it's kind of shaping up. I mean, it's a very interesting second half of last year.
Right.
Caused a lot of sort of, guns to go off, people concerns about what's going to happen in 2019. But especially this week, I've seen some trends that look really good for buying activity. There's a lot going on. The market seems to be heating up. So
well, interest rates have been favorable, so that's helping.
that doesn't hurt.
Yeah.
That doesn't hurt. In fact, that may be a bigger deal than anyone even realizes, because I can't figure out anything that's changed other than that. So we'll dive into that.
All right.
Let's talk about
Perfect.
$1 listings. So there's been several of these that have hit the market in San Diego. And when we say $1 listings, what we mean is the agent has put the home in to the MLS for $1.
Yep.
So there it is. Give me your thoughts on that, since you run an auction platform.
Right.
And that's kind of what people, I think, believe that they're trying to do with this $1 listing. What are your thoughts on it?
Well, I love the concept, because the free market system, if you believe in free markets, will find itself. I've just always believed that. The unfortunate thing with it is that because it's putting a specific price on it, and they're not running a legitimate auction process or platform that's licensed, bonded, insured through the state of California, it's a bit deceiving, right? And so they're literally putting a $1 price on it and then praying people understand, hey, no, you need to actually bid it at a fair price. And it's not giving any descriptions for that. It's not giving documentation toward that. It's not running a legitimate process for that. So therefore, it is very deceiving. But I love the concept, because it is essentially saying, look, we're going to take price and make it irrelevant, allow the market to come in and see the home, and open it up to the buyer pool to come in and see the property and make a decision on where they feel the market may be for it. Hopefully get multiple offers, which I'm presuming they're getting. Otherwise, it doesn't work.
I've made several cash offers.
Sure. Well, right. I'll make a $1 offer. I think anybody would, but knowing full well that
Offer them $100.
if you get 20 $21 offers or even $2,100 offers, right, the seller still has control. Right. And we all know that. Legally, they're able to do what they want. But yes, it is a bit deceiving because it's not running a legitimate auction process.
And we should say that we're not going to even talk about the potential ethical issues or the rules. I know there's some rules about listing property and things like that.
There's gray areas for that.
Yeah, so we're not even going to go there. We're just like, let's assume it's totally legit to do it. And I do understand conceptually what's going on, because the one thing that sucks about selling a home is that you have to go first. In any negotiation, nobody wants to go first. Right. It's like you say, hey, I want to buy that microphone. I'm like, oh yeah, how much you want to give for it? And you're like, well, how much do you want for it? And we'll just go back and forth like that, because no one wants to go first.
Well, and you don't want to, I guess,
go too far.
And bid yourself, right? Bid against yourself.
Exactly.
Right.
But when you sell a home, you have to go first, usually. You have to be first. You have to say, okay, here's my ask. And you throw it out there. And that's your list price. And what I think they're doing with the $1 listings, they're saying, we want to skip that. We want you to go first.
Right.
But there's people who've had issues with it and things like that. I don't think the results have shown that it's been very successful in getting people top dollar, and that's where I start to have a problem with the strategy. Is if it's not getting the seller top dollar, then why are we doing it? Is it doing something else for the agent that they are enjoying, but it's not really good for?
Well, they're probably getting lots of leads.
And that's what I mean. So
I mean, the activity is probably off the chart in terms of phone calls and people coming into the opens and doing that stuff. But yeah, if you can't sit there and compare it and say, okay, if this home were to sell traditionally, where would maybe that fair market fall versus if you're coming this direction, what is the result? Right. Right. And if you can't compare those stats and data and then be able to present something within a range, because the market value changes all the time.
Sure.
1 week it's this, 1 week it's that. You get an offer here, it's different than the offer 3 weeks from now when the home's on the market. So, but you need to be within a range. You got to be within realistic values. And if it's substantially less using this $1 method than you would see in a traditional method, then you got to question it.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at with it right now.
Yeah.
But I mean, just imagine, why don't we right now just not have listing prices? When you have a house for sale, why don't you say, hey, house for sale, 1, 2, 3, 4 Street over here.
Brilliant.
The reason is
brilliant. It's brilliant.
But the reason we don't do it is because of all the time that would be wasted.
Not really, though.
But tons of wasted time. Because think about how many people would come to our properties who couldn't afford them. How many people would have to displace themselves from their homes so that people could come look at the house who can't afford it. what they're actually wanting to get for it. You know what I mean? It would just be a huge waste of time, you know, all the way around. But if you're willing to waste that time,
if you think that, then you need to talk to, you know what Ryan Serhant is?
sounds very familiar.
$1 Million Listing, New York.
Okay.
Okay, great video.
Yes.
Awesome testimonial that he brought out. He went to Australia last year, came back, and he says the model for how they sell real estate is the greatest thing in the world. They don't have any pricing. They put a house on the market with no price. Here's an auction. You show up, you look at it, you assess the property for what it is, you run your comparables on what the market, what other homes have sold for, and what the market's doing, present a bid, and then we allow that free market system to do its job, right? Now, sure, are people going to come in who maybe can't afford the home? Yeah. But the way that it's scheduled, because you're not just having random showings. It's not like, hey, show up at 2 o'clock and see my house and the family has to move out. It's we have an open house on Tuesday from 1 to 2 and Saturday from 1 to 3. You show up at those times. Those are the only times you can see the house. So the seller is very scheduled. They know they need to get the home ready 2 times per week for 2 hours at a time, and people come in, they assess the property, they make bids, we negotiate, boom, we'll get the job done in 30 days or less.
And that would make sense to do it that way if the whole market was doing it that way. But it's kind of tough to move the whole market that direction, right? Like that's the hard part.
It's happening slowly.
It's slowly happening, gaining market share.
Yeah.
So, well, I mean, so I understand all that, and it does make sense. But that's the reason I think that we have prices. It's just it saves everyone time, you know, because if you didn't have that in the current model,
but it actually doesn't save time. It costs time and it costs money. If you
well,
really think about it.
I guarantee you, though, the $1 listing, those people had a lot of wasted time. I mean, the agent had wasted time. The homeowners probably had a lot of wasted time. Now, if you're cool with that,
right,
then go for it. You know what I mean? Like if you're okay with, hey, we're going to have a lot of stuff going on, whether it's just going to be noise.
Sure.
But out of that, we're going to get some cherry here or there or whatever. You think if it's worth it to you, it's your time.
You know, it's funny. So I sell homes both ways. Traditional route with a listing, and then we use, obviously, with Harcourts, we have our traditional auction route. If I truly believed that we were getting less than a fair market price for the home and underselling it and getting our sellers to lose money, I'm only so good at selling ice to Eskimos, right? I mean, at some point, that's going to fall flat on its face. But the stats don't lie, the data doesn't lie, and it presents itself, and we know, based on how we're doing it, our stats line up with the traditional method. And we're taking all the BS out of the system.
You mean with the auction platform? Gotcha. With
But
your auction
I sell
platform.
homes both ways, so it's just a matter of providing options on the table for the seller.
Sure.
Right? Hey, you want to sell your home traditionally, or do you want to sell it via the traditional auction route? Here's the benefits and cons of both. What would you like to do?
But you don't do $1 listings.
No. Although, what's the irony of it? Here's the irony of it. When Harcourts came into the United States in 2010 and were getting ready to launch the auction platform, they didn't even want to put prices on the properties. They wanted to run it just how it's done in Australia, New Zealand, China, Indonesia, Fiji, all around the world. But because we have MLS systems here, the MLS required a price. So then Harcourt said, well, let's just put it on at $1, make price irrelevant, and we'll allow the market to do its job. Well, the MLS said no. Santa Cor said, no, you can't do that. So the irony is...
What's going on now?
Yeah.
I think it's one of those forgiveness versus permission kind of things.
Yeah.
You know, if you come in and you say, hey, we're going to do this, is it okay? They're like, no,
because conceptually they didn't get it, right? But the process now is fully certified through CAR, California Association of Realtors, all the MLSs now. And so now they're getting it, right? And then other companies, which is great, whether it's Coldwell Banker or Sotheby's or some of these other guys are starting to understand the benefits of it to be able to provide multiple methods of selling your home, not just one.
And so with this auction platform, so then where do you price it then? You know, if it's an auction, you know, tell us about how that auction
if we had our way,
works.
there would be no price.
Okay.
Right, but unfortunately with the MLS, they require you to have a price, or we call it a bidding to start figure. It's very clear, and all the descriptions are there. If you're in the traditional home in San Diego, say $600,000 to $900,000, on average, you would see about 15 to 20% off the fair market price, where we would do the bidding to start figure.
Okay.
Typically, that changes. When you get into the high value assets, let's call it $3, $4, $5, $6, $7+ million homes, we need to open up the buyer pool even more and make price even more irrelevant. I mean, to give you an example, a recent one, we did it, home sold for $3.2 million. We did a bidding to start figure at $1,995,000. Almost 50%. I mean, we did one at $1,995,000, sold at $4.525, right? And we make it irrelevant, and the market will find itself, right? The sellers do have reserve prices set with our auctions, so they have a price in mind that they set, and they're protected using that.
Gotcha.
And then we come this direction versus this direction to arrive at the sales price.
And what is the benefit to going that direction versus that direction?
Faster,
Okay.
right? Higher success rate. Am I allowed to? I can't cuss on this show, huh?
You can do whatever you want, man.
Less
This
bullshit.
is the internet.
Less bullshit. Less bullshit. And if, like, once again, I've seen it both ways. We've had most of my auctions I've run, the homes were on traditionally, right? They had offers on them traditionally. So I knew what the traditional market was willing to pay. But obviously at that time, that offer that came in traditionally was way lower than the seller was, willing to accept. So of course they say no, sit on the market for 6 months, play 4 price reductions, right? And then it gets stale and all that stuff happens and you're trying to figure out what other options do I have to get the home sold, right? Reduce the price. That's what most agents do. They come in and say, Mr. Seller, I'm sorry, your home's not selling. It shows well, it's being marketed well, but you know what? We're overpriced. Reduce the price, reduce the price. And you play that game for 6 months until you finally get to the value of the home where we can come this way in 30 days or less, cut out all the bullshit and get it done. That's the difference. So and we have a higher success rate. We have a 91% success rate. In San Diego, traditionally, it's 70%. So if you were to pull all the homes that listed last year in San Diego versus the ones that sold, it's a 70% ratio, traditionally.
So 30% of the homes that are listed on the market don't sell.
Traditionally in San Diego, that's right.
But you have a 91% success
Correct.
rate. That's significant.
And we do it in 30 days or less with multiple offers 98% of the time. About 96% of the buyers are owner-occupied buyers. So these are not investors. These are husband, wife, 2 kids going to move in the home. They're emotionally connected, so emotion plays a huge role. And they allow to kind of come in, assess it. Buyer feels like they're getting a deal, seller's getting a result. And I can compare the results, right, as to where we land in the auction price versus where you get traditionally. Very close, very similar. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, sometimes it's right at it, but it's very, very similar range.
So you're saying you're pretty much going to get to the market value.
We're going to find it.
To the same result, but it's quicker.
Yep.
And it's easier for the seller.
Yeah, because it's actually scheduled. Because if you think in a traditional method, right, they put a home on the market. As an agent, we hope and pray people call us and say, hey, I want to see, can I show your home at 2 o'clock on Tuesday afternoon with my buyers? And so what does the seller do? They got to get the home ready, clean up all the kids' crap, right? Get the home ready. And then the buyer comes in, they window shop, they walk around the house for an hour, then they think about it, they go, they see 3 other houses, and they maybe call back in a week and submit an offer 3 weeks later, right? And it's just, you're like, ugh.
Waiting.
Whereas with ours, we set up 2 open homes per week. All the buyers and everybody come into that time frame. Buyers see other buyers, people see other people, creates urgency, competition, fear of loss, emotion, all those things you want to try and create traditionally. And then what happens is multiple offers come in on the table. We negotiate those offers. Buyers say, look, I really want the house. I'm emotionally connected to it. Based on the comps and everything we're seeing, boom, here's where we think the market's at. And then the seller's either going to accept that or they're not.
They can counteroffer.
They can counteroffer. The home can sell prior to the live auction date, or it can sell on live auction, or if it doesn't sell in stage 1 or 2, it can move to post-auction stage 3 and sell in post-auction negotiations. So there's really 3 stages of our process. Because it's not really taking away the traditional method at all. We just don't get to the traditional method until stage 3.
Okay, it's more of a last
That makes
resort.
sense. Yeah, so if it doesn't sell coming this way, right, kind of trying to get all the offers and maybe none of the offers meet the seller's expectations, we go to live auction, we have the live bidding, still doesn't meet seller's expectations, we move to post-auction, we bring the seller down, we bring the buyer up, boom.
So is the auction like the auctions you would see? Is it like
Have you been to one yet?
1.9 million?
Oh, just
Can
far
we
more.
get 1.9, 1.95, 1.2, and now 2 to the man in the yellow jacket, 2 million,
Yes,
2 million.
it's actually
That's
far
how it
better
is?
than that.
Yeah.
Far better than that. So they're once a month. They're going to end up being twice a month now, but we run them in an auction ballroom in Del Mar.
Okay.
There's another one up in Beverly Hills, LA, so there's another live auction ballroom up there. And they're running them once a month, and then they'll end up being twice a month moving forward. And now they're all live streamed. So moving forward, you're going to be able to pull it up on your app, on your phone, device, anywhere in the world. In real time, they'll have the 6 different cameras in the room. You'll see the auctioneer auctioning. You'll see all the people bidding. You'll be able to bid, register everything on your phone, and see everything in real live time. And that's getting ready to launch here pretty soon.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So you'll be able to bid online.
Yep. Register, bid online and they're testing it right now. So they got people that are running it, testing it from Australia, China, Indonesia, all around the world, bidding on our live auctions here in San Diego. So that way, you know that it's all legitimate and you know who's bidding and they identify people, and so it's all real stuff.
It's interesting because I think the word auction for me, I have this image.
You think distressed property?
Well, it's not even that. Yeah, or courthouse steps.
Yeah, you think foreclosure. You think
Yeah.
distressed.
I went to an auction. I was like 5 or 6 years old, so that's what comes to mind, and that's the guy I just tried to do an impression of. And I remember buying something for like $2, like a little case, little thing, trinket, and it seemed to me that the auction was where a place people went to get rid of some stuff, their crap. Like that's so in my mind that you're gonna get rid of stuff, you auction it off.
I thought the same thing.
So what you're doing is you're basically saying, no, it is an auction. That's what it is. But the way that it's organized, and because it's real estate, and the process that you guys have, you're getting market value here. You're not sacrificing anything to do this process.
Correct. That's exactly correct. Because most people's perception of the word auction, at least the way it's been used for real estate in the United States for decades, is foreclosure, courthouse steps, right? Distressed assets, liquidation, right? That's the perception, and that's fine because that actually brings the people. We love that.
That's what I was thinking. From a seller standpoint, what would be interesting to me about the auction is that buyers would say, "Oh, it's going to be an auction on this property. Let's go. Maybe we'll get a steal, or something like that." So it would draw people, the buy side, to it.
Correct.
Which is what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and keep in mind the auctions that are done by the courthouse steps and by the banks and all those things that happened during the financial crisis and so forth, they were set up. Lack of disclosure, no home inspections, escrow's really weird, no timelines, no nothing, right? So who does that attract? Investors.
Correct.
Cash guys. So what do cash investors want? A steal. So they're never going to pay a fair price. That's not a husband, wife, 2 kids, emotionally connected, going to live in the home, kids play in the backyard, they feel really good about it. So that because of that, emotion plays no role. It's all about the dollars and cents. And that's why auctions in the past have depressed price. By nature, because they're designed to have nothing. You just show up and you get a house that you've never seen, right? And it's distressed. So when you bring the process up and you have full disclosure, normal process, just like buying any other home, we do all the home inspections, title reports, termite reports, normal disclosures, everything you can fathom, we do up front. Buyers get full disclosure on the house. They can get all their inspections done. They can get their own inspections done. We don't change that. We're just trying to be super transparent so buyers feel super comfortable. And that's all done up front. So what does that do? It alleviates contingencies for escrow. It alleviates time frames. It alleviates getting into escrow day 13, blowing up the deal because the water heater, we found something's wrong with the house, or Josh, the lender, messes up.
That never happens.
You're trying to pull away all the BS of a transaction because it is kind of, and that's not new. That's something that's been going on in Northern California for years where they do all the due diligence up front. So that way buyers and sellers, everybody kind of knows the package going in the door versus finding out day 14, 15 of the transaction.
I've never understood that, man.
Yeah.
I've never understood.
It's ass backwards.
It made no sense to me why you would leave it up to the buyer to do their inspection before you even know what's going on with the property.
It'd be nice to know as a seller what's going on so I know what to expect.
Yeah, or what to fix ahead of time.
That's right.
You know, I mean, why give them that negotiation power, especially after they've locked your property up and
now they have a chance to retrade.
Yeah.
That happens, right? Request for repairs, I want a credit, I want this fixed, I want 14 things I'm going to cancel. All that stuff goes on, and then of course there's emotions and everybody gets mad and everybody wants to do this and that, and it just creates a complete show.
Clusterfuck.
So we kind of pull that away from the process, and you're kind of streamlining it. You're making it much more structured. It's a business plan approach to selling your home, and you will achieve a market value every single time. Now, it's a question of whether or not the seller likes that market, but that happens traditionally all the time. But a lot of times, if you think in a traditional method, we list a home, people show up. If you're lucky, you get multiple offers. But if you don't, you have one offer on the table at one point in time. And that's one point of data for that homeowner to say, I either agree with that or I don't agree with that. Or it's a low ball and I don't like it or whatever it is, but it's one piece of data. But what if there were 4 or 5 people willing to pay a similar price? And these are all husband, wife, 2 kids, going to live in the home, emotionally connected, and they all know they're competing, and they're all making sure they're giving their best foot forward. Is that starting to tell you something?
Yeah.
Educates the seller very quickly.
Yeah. Well, you always want multiple offers because your best chance is to submit back and say, hey, final and best.
Yeah.
You know, we've got multiple offers here.
Yeah.
Come back with whatever's best for you. We'll be reviewing these by tomorrow, 5 p.m.
That's right.
That's the position you want to be in.
And it's streamlining it. Now, obviously, sometimes buyers don't like it because they feel like they're losing leverage, right? But what they're also doing is actually getting a great price and a great deal and helping educate the seller. So they're actually playing a bigger role in the process than you would sometimes traditionally.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a buyer and you get caught in one of those situations where you've got multiple offers and they're asking for highest and best, just make your highest and best. That's it. It's not personal.
Right.
It's not a negative thing. It's actually, hey, listen, you're about to buy a house that a lot of people want. That is a very good thing for you. because one day you're going to sell that house, and
A lot of people are
going to want to. So
But
that's good.
but if that's pre-auction, because keep in mind through the auction stages, there's 3. So pre-auction, home goes on the MLS. We have 30-day campaign that leads up to the live auction date. People come into the open homes that we have scheduled. They can present pre-auction offers on the table. Those can be negotiated. We can stop the auction if we get to a price that makes sense for all parties. If not, we'll go to live auction. And for the buyer, holy crap! I mean, that's like the best thing. Think you're sitting in a room. You get to see what everybody's willing to pay. And in order to win, it's $1 more. It's super transparent. Versus in a traditional method, right? All the multiple offers that go back and forth, it's all blind.
Right.
You don't know about it. You're just kind of bidding against yourself.
Yeah, that's true.
Versus in a live setting in this room, you get to see everything in real time. And say, okay, that guy's willing to pay $472. I'll pay $473, $475, and it's all done. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's actually really interesting.
You got to go see one of these things.
I
The next
can't
one
wait.
we have is March 21st in Del Mar. We invite everybody to come. We have agents from other companies coming, lenders, everybody coming, because once they see it, they're like, holy,
I would love to come see it.
this is like amazing.
Send me the deets on that. I live in Del Mar, so that shouldn't be too hard for me to figure out, depending upon what time, what day.
Right now we're doing midday.
Midday. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'll sneak away for a lunch and
then moving
check it
forward,
out.
just watch it on your phone.
I was gonna say that's for sure gonna
So
happen.
starting in, I think, actually April. Yeah. So April, it'll all be live on your phone.
All right, let's do some predictions here. So we kind of tackled the $1 listing, the Harcourt's auction platform. It's really intriguing. I can't wait to learn
And I
more.
don't even say it's Harcourt's, it's Australian. It's an Australian auction process because tons of companies run it, but Harcourt's is obviously the only one in the United States currently running it this way. And they're an Australian company, but there's lots of companies that run it. And you can copy it. It's not proprietary. Anybody can use it. But there's a difference between copying it and executing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, no question about it. So what do you think? What's going on in the market right now? Any predictions, bold thoughts for the rest of the year, 2019?
To be honest with you, I'll be very surprised if we're not in some sort of a recession by 2020.
Okay. That seems to be the consensus.
Yeah.
Barry Habib said that
Yep.
and has stuck with that. A lot of people are saying that. The stock market's got all the way back up to 26,000 though this week in the Dow, which I cannot believe it got back again. The data all looks really good. I'm one of the most bearish people. I mean, it was January 1st, or it was January 2017 when I said, hey, look out, for this market, right? So that's a while back now. That's over 2 years ago. Yeah. That really didn't happen. It's just kind of, saw some sideways action the last half of last year.
Playing this game.
Yeah, a little sideways action. Every once in a while someone gets a steal, but then these guys over here are, bidding up a house. And so it's kind of like the market hasn't really gotten a hold of what's going on yet.
Well, the market's normalizing. Everybody says, oh, it's turning down. I said, no, you're normalizing. So we were dealing with 1 to 2 months of supply of homes in San Diego County for years. And then now that's up right around 3 months of supply, right? And an average market is 6 months of supply. So when you get to about 6 months of supply of homes on the market, that's an average market where supply and demand are in equilibrium. And that's kind of where you want it to be, because then it's not a buyer's market, it's not a seller's market. Homes are there and plenty of inventory for buyers to consider. You got to actually really work to sell your home versus just put it on and expect 14 offers day 2. So it's normalizing.
Yes, or consolidating, you could say, kind of finding its way, finding where it needs to be. And I should say we are live on Facebook right now. If you want to drop a comment. What's up, Charlie? You can share this video, make your friends smarter than everyone else. You can comment right here if you would like to as well. You can ask Justin questions, ask myself questions. So you think it's normalizing, and you mean becoming not a seller's market. Is that what you mean, sort of neutralizing, becoming more of a balanced market?
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just, you really look at the numbers and the data, and it tells you it's based on affordability, right? Because as everything's have kind of changed over time. You've had prices increasing, right? Interest rates have been kind of increasing, but kind of flatlined a little bit. Incomes are flat, going up a little bit. So you've had this, between prices and wages, you've had this gap, and it's been growing and growing and growing, and you're at a point where you're just running into an affordability gap. There's plenty of people who want to buy homes. The problem is they just can't afford what they want. So then they're like, well, do I just sit on the fence? Do I just wait? Do I do nothing? So then, of course, as that happens, more inventory comes on the market, right? Interest rates have kind of stabilized, which has helped over the last 3 months, which is great, because then that's kind of bringing more activity, because I think it's picked up here in the first quarter again, which is good. But yeah, you're just running in an affordability gap right now.
It's funny because I'm producing a new show. We just started shooting called My San Diego Dream Home. It's about people buying their dream home in San Diego. And last night I was having a conversation with a couple, great couple, and they were saying, we're really looking at Temecula because our budget is in this range, and
you can get a heck of a house in Temecula for $500,000.
460 is where they're sort of topped out at VA loan, and I said, we're really looking in Temecula. I said, well, the show is called My San Diego Dream Home, and they said, well, I think the San Diego dream is in Temecula now.
we consider Temecula an extension of San Diego now.
It is pretty much, right?
Yeah.
Because so many people live up there.
Yeah. A lot of commuters.
Lots. And which is tough. What I've heard is that you get used to it. You figure out what to do. You listen to podcasts. You make phone calls. You figure out how to spend that hour and a half or whatever it takes to get up there during peak times, or 2 hours if there's a wreck or whatever it may be. But I think you have to factor that in.
Yep.
Overall, and that's, it's not just, hey, the payment up there is this, the house is better.
Yep.
I think you really have to look at that time. How much time are you missing with your kids? How much time are you missing with
And
your
that's a lot. I mean, you got the normal costs of gas and cars and transportation, right? But then there's like the mental and psychological side of it. And it makes sense. I understand why people, if they can work a job in San Diego and get paid X, right, and then live in an area where the cost of housing is substantially less, within an hour's distance, give or take.
Yep.
Makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And live in a brand new home that's 3,000 square feet with 4 bedrooms, 3 baths with a
pool for
pool and
$500,000.
a 11,000 square foot lot. And you try and do that in San Diego, it's $900,000.
Yeah.
So
very, very difficult to do.
Yeah.
And it's tough to even now. There really isn't even like the Fallbrook, or you can find some stuff in Escondido, but it's not quite. There just doesn't seem to be as many options that are in that range.
Yeah. For newer construction, you can go get smaller home, call it Claremont, some of those areas for the 4, 5s, and 6s, but it's a 1,300 square foot house. It's a 3-bedroom, 2-bath on a smaller lot in 1965. Maybe it's remodeled, maybe it's not, but it's just whether or not what you care about most, right? If location and being near kind of San Diego and the oceans and all that stuff is most important, then of course you're going to be willing to sacrifice.
It's amazing how many service members there are who buy houses up in Temecula and do this crazy commute to 32nd Street.
Well, the VA loans, it makes sense because that VA loan amount, I think, is $484 up there, and they can go in and get a killer house and stay 100% financed.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Makes
So,
sense.
so what do you think? So you think the market's normalizing? Any predictions for now between?
Prices will continue to appreciate a little bit this year at 1 to 2%.
Okay.
You'll continue to see pending home sales kind of fall off, right? So we're not going to see the day of pending home sales rising, in my opinion, is over with.
Really?
Yeah, because we peaked out last year in June, and typically there's a year-to-year time span between when pending home sales peak out and prices begin to settle and fall. So I do see that this is probably going to be the last year of prices appreciating.
Okay. All right.
In my professional opinion.
And then recession potentially in 2020.
And you can go back to the last recession in 08, 09, which was obviously a major one.
That was massive.
But you can go even back to the 89 through 91 cycle crash and then early 2000s, and it's all pretty similar. You get about a 6-month to year lag between when pending home sales peak and prices begin to stabilize and fall. And so by middle end of this year, that I would expect that to happen.
Okay. Very, very interesting. I'm seeing a lot
But it's
of
good.
It is. It's
I know
it is
people
good.
look at it as a bad thing, but they need to. I don't know if you follow Ray Dalio.
No.
So he's a very, very well-known kind of economist guy. He runs Bridgewater Capital, which is like the second largest hedge fund in the world, or in the U.S. Billionaire guy, and he puts out amazing stuff on YouTube, and he talks about 2 things, either short-term credit cycles or long-term credit cycles. And so the last one we went into, 08, 09 crash, that was a long-term credit cycle that was massive, borderline Great Depression. It was kind of stopped by the Fed printing money.
They even called it the Great Recession.
Right, massive. This next one's going to be a short-term credit cycle, and those are typically 5 to 8 years between cycles. So the cycle began February 2012. That's when we've been up. If you actually look at the numbers, February 2012, we've been up. So we're running right around 7 years right now in that cycle, which tells you something. I mean, the longest one that's ever happened was 8 years. So that leads you into 2020. Let's assume it's longer than any other one we've ever had. That gives you to 2020 before things are going to.
Well, and not to get political here,
Yeah.
but we are seeing sort of a different situation with the current administration.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, it's just, I don't know if we can go back and look at the lack of correlation. I mean, the stock market's been up so much, and rates have gone down.
Yeah.
And that's that's not normally how that relationship works. Like, what the heck is going on?
I think there's a lot of closet Trumpers. This is what's so hard, because I didn't vote for him. I personally don't care for him, but I do agree with some of his things he's doing. So it's a love-hate, because it's kind of like you're like, God, on a personal level, you need to not be there.
That's what I mean. Like, we don't have to go to that side, but I mean, like, just the things that are taking place.
Some of the things he's doing are very helpful, and he's done a lot of good things behind the scenes that are not being paid attention to, right? Because of obviously all the drama on the personal side and everything else. So it's a love-hate, and that's why I think you got a lot of closet Trumpers who don't want to say they voted for him or don't want to say they support him, but they're sitting there going, this is helping my wallet.
Well, that's the
thing. This is helping my business.
Is that going to that going to blow up all of our cycles and all of our correlations and all of our predictions, because like things just aren't the way that they've always been? They're sort of messed up, like they've been shook loose.
Yeah,
but
see, we'll see, because you got I don't know, people talk about yield curves. I know Josh knows a little bit about this. You know, inverted yield curves and stuff. We're getting to the point where that yield curve may become inverted. Where when they talk about that, they're talking about where the 10-year Treasury note and the short-term credit rates become inverted, and that's a telltale signal as to when you start to get towards recessions.
Yeah.
And that's lining up at near zero right now, and so we're very close. And like I said,
and what you're saying is when the long-term debt pays
right.
less.
When it does not, when it does not incentivize banks to give out, loans for certain terms, then of course they stop lending money. So what happens to businesses, right? They start consolidating, everything contracts. So we're at that point where just fundamentally you have to have a credit cycle adjustment. It's right there for us, and we'll have to go through it. And yes, it's a little painful, but the good news is the upside's even bigger moving forward. And the next cycle will be bigger than this one, and everybody will make more money next time than this one. And so it's part of the game.
Part of the dance.
Part of the dance.
What's up, Patrick? He says, I'm seeing inventory start to shift and go back to a multiple offer environment again. And that was kind of what I was getting to. He also says, Trump 2020, extending the run for 6 more years. So that's not a closet Trumper.
Yeah.
So, thank you, Patrick, for commenting. Appreciate it. We are live here on Facebook. You can comment. You can share this video. Make your friends smarter than everyone else. Exactly what we're doing here. So, and I'm seeing the same thing. So I'm just going to tell you my prediction. Because I don't think I can rely on any of the things that to happen the way that they have. Yeah, the historical data, I think, is just out the window. I just think it's out the window. And it's hard to argue with guys like the guy you're talking about, or Barry Habib, who's like never been wrong.
Right.
It's hard to go against that grain. But what I'm seeing right now is so much activity, it's bonkers.
Yeah.
Buyers looking, the data's off the charts, the stuff Redfin's releasing with their data is just crazy right now.
Yeah.
The number of hot homes, if you just go look at hot homes, do a search.
Sure.
For $400,000 to $700,000 in San Diego County. Look, the number of hot homes, I've never seen this many hot homes before.
That's good.
I think Q2 is going to be really, really strong, really strong.
Okay.
I don't know about the last half of the year, because if you recall, last half of last year was a little rough.
From June on, yeah, it started to get.
But if you do correlate anything, if there's anything we can correlate, you mentioned it earlier, interest rates seem to make a very, very big difference here. And I didn't think that they made that big of a difference between 4.25% and 5%, but it really does.
Part of it's the perception game. It's not just the rate, right? Because when you look at the payment, it's not a massive difference, but it's a good size difference.
A couple $100.
It's psychological for the buyers, because they sit there going, "Oh, I'm in the 4s. Oh my gosh, now it's 5." Everybody
freeze.
Yeah, everybody freezes. So, but I think what's happening is just like what happens with gas prices, right? They're teasing it to get up to 5, and then they pull it back, and then they tease up a little bit more, and at some point it will be at 5. And then it's going to get to 5.5.
Oil is another thing that makes no sense, where the price of oil has gone up, but our gas prices here have gone down. So there's correlations that
it's in the refineries.
Just aren't making sense anymore. Things that have always made sense and correlated aren't anymore. So I just feel like it's hard to lean on those things right now for predictions. But
if I were a betting person,
okay,
right, and look, we can all be wrong. I hope it continues to go. So I'm not someone sitting here saying, "Hey, I want it to change."
Oh, certainly not. Yeah.
But the data is telling us that we are at the 11th hour of a 12-hour game.
Short-term.
It's just a question of, is it going to happen by 2020? I don't think it's going to happen this year. I think we're going to bounce around and be just fine this year. It's a question of, the thing is too, normally in presidential cycle years, right? Election years, you don't usually have big swings one way or the other.
It's kind of a wait.
Yeah, so that could put a little bit of a halt to things too, but without having an up or a down. So it could go into 2021. I mean, the rate we're going, because I don't see anything massive happening this year. I see it happening next year, but then next year is a presidential election year. So historically, things are pretty flatlined in presidential years.
Maybe it'll be all over the place in 2020. Maybe it will be just a wild ride.
Who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows?
So what would you make for advice then let's start with sellers.
Yeah.
Do you think the best days are behind us? It's time to get on the market?
No, not at
No?
all. I mean, I think it's like anything. You just need to have a good realtor who knows how to price the home correctly for you, present it correctly, help you present it correctly, and then market it, right? We do marketing and get eyeballs and people in the door and get things to happen. So, no, I wouldn't say that at all. I'd say it's a great time to sell the home. I mean, it's not obviously the same way it was in 13, 14, and 15 with 15 offers and the prices are jumping up 20% a year and stuff. But, you know, homes will sell for good prices and things will move forward. You just got to do the right thing.
Okay. What about buyers?
Great time to buy. I mean, the interest rates are incredible. I mean, everybody sits there saying, let me ask you that. It really depends if you're buying to live in the home or are you buying it for an investment as a rental property, right? If you're buying it for an investment to either flip it or rent it or something, I would actually hold.
Okay.
I just would. But if you're buying it as a home to live in, you buy all day long because the interest rates are incredible and market cycles go up and down and you just need to ride through it.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. That definitely makes sense.
If you're buying to hold, buy the home because the interest rates are what you're buying. You're buying your monthly payment, right? It's what you're buying. You're not buying, prices will go up and down while you live in the home. And at the end of the day, they'll probably be up if you're going to live in it for a 7 to 10 year period. But if you're buying it as a, hey, I want to buy it and 2 years from now sell it as an investment, no.
Okay.
Hold.
Okay. We're on the same page. And I think if you're looking to buy your dream home for the long term, you never have to worry about the market.
No.
Because
markets are always going to go up and down.
They're always going up and down, and over the long haul, it's always going, the 10, 15, 20-year time frames, it's going to work out for you.
Right.
So that I don't think you ever have to worry about. Plus, there's lots of benefits. Obviously, there's tax benefits.
But I wouldn't advise any buyers to get into short-term type fixed rate loans. I would at a bare minimum 10-year, bare minimum, but I would be always looking to the 30-year and pay that little bit of a premium
100%.
to lock into the 30-year rate and have that conservative mindset. Because the last thing you want to do is get out 7 years from now, be in the middle of a market cycle where interest rates are, 6% hypothetically, and you locked in at 4.25%, and now you need to refinance or sell your home because it's going variable, and now you're going to be at 6% versus 4.25%. You're going to be like,
yeah.
so
Are ARMs pricing out right now? No. They're not, right? There's not a lot of appetite, I think, for ARMs right now. And
so the 30 years is still the way to go.
Yeah. There's not much of a discount for an ARM, at this point.
15 years? Really? It's a higher payment though, right? Because it's amortized over 15 years too. Wow.
Yeah. But I mean, so if the way I would look at it is like this: if you're going to buy a house,
I think we should bring Josh up and set him right here.
just Indian style. You can sit in front of the desk. There's lots of room there. I think that if you're buying long term for your home to live in, you got to look at it like a retirement annuity almost that you're just paying off. And you're paying off. It's 30 years. You've got this thing, and then there's no more payments.
Yep.
And that's the way you have to look at it. So total cost of ownership is what you have to look at, and that's what matters. And obviously the interest rate factors into that. Obviously the price factors into that. But just make sure you're not stuck looking at these things over here. Look at the total.
Yep.
Look at the total cost of ownership for the time frame you plan on being in the home. And if you have a long-term outlook, I think this could be a really good time, because traditionally, if we just look at us versus LA, San Diego versus Los Angeles, San Diego versus San Francisco.
We're a discount.
Huge.
We're a discount.
So people looking from the outside, like a lot of people come down here, and I'm sure you've had this happen where someone comes from LA and they're like, this is it? It's only 1.2?
I had to have it all the time.
Let's go. Because they think
all
it's
the time.
So cheap.
Yeah.
So it's just the perspective is different. What's great about San Diego, a lot of blue collar, families, hardworking people here in San Diego. And they're working those blue collar jobs, and to them, like 600,000 is just preposterous, And I understand that, because when they grew up here, those houses were 150 grand
or 40.
Yeah, depending on how old they are. It could be 65,000. They were giving in the early '90s. They were selling those studios at the Harbor Club. They couldn't sell them for like 50,000.
Right.
Now they're 1-point-something million.
Yeah.
So that's just the early '90s. We're not talking about that long. It was less than 30 years ago. So I think that's kind of the way you have to look at it, and it is a value for what you get here, and that value is not really as much of a secret anymore as it was when you were kids. It's not
in the
cat's
wealth
out of the bag.
In the wealth effect of money, like people don't realize the wealth effect of owning a home and what comes with that. There's direct, obviously, as you get the appreciation, right, and the equity buildup in a home, But what you're not counting on is how creditors look at people who own homes versus rent homes. Because it's much easier to go get credit and expand wealth when you actually have home ownership. You check on your applications for things. Banks look at that and say, okay, this is a much more creditworthy person. We're going to give more money, more wealth, more credit to this person because they own a home. People aren't looking at that. They just see, obviously, do I financially make out?
Yeah.
But there's direct and indirect relationships.
And I think the long-term elements are really what it's about. It's about ultimately homeownership is about having a home that's paid off.
Yeah.
You don't have a house payment anymore. You don't have to have a house payment.
It seems so rare. I mean, I do see people
Right?
that have that nowadays, and I'm like, wait, that home's paid off?
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
It's just like a car. So we can correlate it to a car. Like when you have a paid off car, how good that feels. Now imagine you have a paid off house.
Right.
That's what home ownership's about. Now you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
You can go.
'Cause no matter what,
you're good.
you got a house and you got transportation.
You're okay.
Yeah.
They do those two things. That's it. Now the house is obviously much harder to pay off than a car.
Yeah.
Takes a lot longer time. But if you can make those your goals, once you have that, you can pretty much retire if you want to. I mean, you could work a part-time job to pay for food, you know, at that point, right?
Well, yeah, but at that point, if you're getting Social Security or VA benefits or whatever it is, that's going to probably take care of most of your fixed expenses.
You're going to be set. So, I mean, that's really what it's all about.
What's the secret on the jacket and the tie?
The
I mean,
secret?
in terms of the colors.
Okay.
How'd you come up with it? I'm putting you on the spot.
Okay.
I know I am.
Well, no, see, you can see right here, okay? See, there's the orange,
Yeah.
and there's the yellow,
So you just wanted to match your logo?
and there's a blue. Yeah, close. See, like this blue on here is actually lighter than it's supposed to be. This is actually closer. Oops. This is actually closer to the blue that I wanted.
See, we have
in
to
the
wear
logo.
corporate ties. So this is a Hardcourt's corporate tie.
Oh, really?
But yeah, any of the, well, not all, but a good portion of the agents. And then the ladies
No
have the
corporate ties here.
ladies have the rosettes or the scarves. But what's funny, because I went down to Australia in May of last year, and you know, here in the United States, Hardcourt's is relatively small in comparison. But you go outside the U.S., massive. Australia, they're like number 2. But it's crazy because I'm down there at a conference and there's 5,000 like realtors, and everybody's dressed like little cult army people. It's crazy. Ties and scarves and rosettes, and they're all speaking Australian accents. It's the wildest thing ever. It's the trippiest thing ever.
That's
G'day, mate.
awesome. Can I go to that party next
Yes.
time? Can you let me know when that's
These
going
guys,
down?
I tell you one thing: the Aussies, they know how to party.
Totally.
They
That's
know
what
how
I'm
to
saying.
have a
Like
good time.
5,000 Aussie realtors, sign me up for that. For that
and
party.
it's
I'm
open
in.
bar,
Forget
nonstop,
about it.
all night. I mean, these guys. I mean, the party for them, I remember, didn't even start till 1 in the morning, because they had the award ceremony. It started at 9, went till midnight, and I'm sitting there going, okay, I'm getting tired. And they're like, no, the party starts. We're going to the other area.
Here's
over
a Red
here.
Bull, JB. Let's do
And they
this.
just, I mean, it's crazy. They're break dancing. I mean, these guys are nuts.
Yeah, please invite me to that next time. If I can come, I'll sign up. I'll get my license.
It's a long flight, man.
I'll hang it.
It's a long flight.
Yeah.
Holy cow.
It sounds like it's worth it.
Yeah, it is.
JB, Justin Brennan, great to have you here today, man.
Thanks
Really
for
appreciate
inviting
your
me.
time. Tremendous
Appreciate it.
content. Hey, folks, if you want to be smarter than everyone else and you want your friends to be smarter than everyone else, share this post. And remember, opportunity is always there. You just have to do the right things. See
I
you
mean,
next time.
we have 100,000 viewers right now.
Yeah, 146,219.